Happy Friday, folks, and welcome back to the Random Video Blog, where every single Friday I, Graham G.S. Matthews, run down my rambling thoughts in the wrestling world, share a few stories, etc., etc. And today we're talking all about Raw's 25th anniversary show this coming Monday on the USA Network. Pretty exciting time right now in WWE. We got the Royal Rumble coming up next weekend, NXT TakeOver Philly. It's going to be an amazing weekend, to say the least, both of which I will be in attendance for. So it's going to be a major blockbuster weekend. But before I'll be at those two shows, I'll be at Raw's 25th anniversary show this Monday. So in the matter of 7 days, I will be at 3 WWE shows for the first time since SummerSlam weekend in 2016, when I went to TakeOver, SummerSlam, and Raw, all in Brooklyn. Speaking of Brooklyn, the Barclays Center will host the 25th anniversary of Raw this coming Monday as well. So Brooklyn, always a great crowd. Don't ask me why. Oh, why aren't you going to the Manhattan Center? First of all, I think the Barclays Center is going to have more stuff. The Manhattan Center is going to have some special stars too. They're not all going to appear at the Manhattan Center. They have way too many returning former stars and legends and Hall of Famers and whatever to all host at the Manhattan Center. So I'm sure the Barclays Center is going to have probably Stone Cold, I would imagine, and a number of others. But nonetheless, not only that, but the Manhattan Center tickets were like fucking $400 to $500 from what I saw on StubHub and Ticketmaster. That's way too much, especially for a show if I don't know if it's going to be good. Especially for a show where only one big thing might happen at the Manhattan Center, and that's it. And I love the Manhattan Center, don't get me wrong. I went to my first ever 2 TNA shows there in the summer of 2014 and at the onset of 2015. It's an amazing arena, but I do not want to spend $400 to $500. I've never spent anything more than $150 on wrestling tickets before, let alone $400 to $500. But nonetheless, guys, I will be there this coming Monday. Whether you're going to be there, you're going to be watching from home. It's a very exciting, monumental occasion. 25 years of this flagship show of WWE's. And as I record this, more names continue to be announced, the status of certain people, which I'll talk about here in the video. I've written down 5 people that I would love to see announced for the show, would love to see appear on the show this coming week. There's a lot of people still yet to be announced, but they've announced pretty much everyone under the sun, from Stone Cold Steve Austin to the fucking Boogeyman. So they got a lot of people on tap for this show that I cannot wait to see. And more people might be announced in the days to come that I'm not aware of. This is going up on Friday. I'm recording this on Tuesday. So maybe more names were announced. Maybe a person on this list has already said I won't be there. You never really know in wrestling, though. Remember Old School Raw a few years ago? Jake the Snake Roberts said a few weeks ahead of the event, oh, I won't be there. I have no relationship with the company. And then he came back at the end of the show, and it was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. So you never know with WWE. Wrestling, everything is always kept secret. I don't want to get my hopes up too high because we already have a slew of stars appearing on the show. But I do hope we get appearances from the following 5 names, including The Rock. The Rock is leading the list of everyone's list of stars that people want to see return and show up on Raw's 25th anniversary show. How can you have a Monday Night Raw celebration without the fucking Rock? I mean, that was the same question I had about Raw 1000 and Stone Cold Steve Austin, which he was not a part of. He will be a part of Raw 25, save for any last minute changes. But I'm not sure if it was a knee surgery or what. He wasn't at Raw 1000. We had The Rock instead, though. The Rock played a pretty pivotal role on that show, teasing the WrestleMania 29 match with John Cena, interacting with CM Punk, which CM Punk then attacked him at the end of the show, laying out the Big Show, interacting with Daniel Bryan, announcing he was going to go for the WWE Championship at the Royal Rumble the following year. The Rock had a pretty monumental, part in that Raw 1000 show. And I love that show a lot. Raw 1000 was excellent. But I'm hoping he will be a part of Raw 1000 in some form or fashion. Now, I know he's a busy guy. Love Jumanji, by the way. By the time this video goes up, hopefully my Jumanji movie review will also have been up by this point on the channel. Enjoyed that. He's got a ton of other stuff going on right now, but you can't, make a quick flight directed to New York City and show up at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn real quick. I mean, the guy was a huge part of Raw's history. You can't have a Raw 25th anniversary show without The Rock. The guy was such a huge star in Raw's history. Right up there with Stone Cold Steve Austin. I would argue no two bigger stars in Raw's history are than Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock. So I'm hoping Rock shows up. He might very well just do a brief taped message, and that's fine. But I am hoping he does show up on the show in some form or fashion. I mean, personally, I would love to see him show up in person. I've never seen The Rock in person before. I think he actually made a return at the Barclays Center a few years ago. I think in late 2014, and it was amazing. No one knew about it. It was in 2014. It was like, holy shit, this is incredible. And that was it. I think we saw him at WrestleMania 32 when he guest hosted the show. But that was it. I don't think we've seen Rock on WWE TV since, because I know he was not at WrestleMania 33, which I was hoping for. We didn't get it. Whatever. But hopefully he shows up at Raw 25. A bit more unlikely even than The Rock is Batista, another former WWE champion I want to see return at the Raw 25 show. Now, Batista was last seen at Raw's episode, actually on my birthday, on June 2nd, 2014, when he quit the company. When he first came back in, the very late 2013, that was when it was announced by WWE. He first actually came back in January, almost exactly 4 years ago. It's amazing to think it's been that long. But yeah, he first came back 4 years ago, and his run was not the greatest. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I loved the matches he had with The Shield and everyone else, Daniel Bryan. So he has not been back since. He quit the company, even though he initially signed a 2-year deal, but then he became big in Hollywood. He was doing Spectre, he was doing Blade Runner, doing Guardians of the Galaxy, now he's in Avengers. And I think Avengers is obviously all set and done filmed, like having done filming that like a while ago. The movie comes out in May. But they might be doing promotion for it. I'm not really sure. But it is worth mentioning. Like, I wouldn't mention Batista. I would say CM Punk. CM Punk, spoiler alert, will not be a part of this video blog, this list, because I know it's not going to happen. Batista is a bit more likely. He was recently on JR's podcast, Jim Ross's podcast, and he said, I would love to come back to WWE. I hate the politics, but I would love to come back, and I would love to do it for a full-on run, not just a pop. I want to be there for a full-on run from like the Rumble to WrestleMania. So I don't know how far talks have gone since then. I'm not sure if that's a real possibility. Again, he wouldn't want to come back for a one-off return. So that might sort of kind of throw this out the window for a one-off appearance if he's not interested in that. But maybe he comes back and says, I will be in the Royal Rumble. Hopefully he doesn't win it again in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, or Philly, Pennsylvania, whatever. But it would be pretty cool to have Batista back in WWE on the road to WrestleMania. I do not think I've seen Batista in person yet. I wanted to see him at the Raw that I went to in 2014, but he quit the company mere weeks earlier, so I have not yet seen... Actually, I have. No, Batista main evented the first SmackDown show that I went to years ago, almost like a decade ago. So I have seen Batista in person before. I got to meet him a few months ago. I really want him back, though, and Batista was another big part of Raw for many, many years, from 02 to 05, largely when he became big in Evolution. Triple H is going to be there. Orton's obviously going to be there. Maybe. I don't know. He's a SmackDown star, so I don't know. Ric Flair's going to be there. Similar to Raw's 15th anniversary, let's have a big fucking, Evolution reunion. A full-on reunion this time, with all parties involved, including Batista. So I'm not holding my breath, but I would love to see Batista back for a one-off appearance, if not a full-on run in WWE, starting at Raw 25. And it is worth noting, he was gone from WWE for 4 years the first time, 2010 to 2014. Well, it's been just about 4 years. Will he come back 4 years later on Raw 25? Time will tell. Number 3 on my list, and this is one of those names that might be announced by the time the video blog goes up, because he has been featured in the advertising for it, is Bret Hart. Now, Mick Foley is not a part of this list. Neither is like a Trish Stratus or a Lita, because I want to see them on Raw. Mick Foley, huge part of Raw. Trish Stratus, one of the biggest women stars in Raw history, as was Lita. But I figure they will show up. Like, Lita's on good terms with the company. Trish might be even in the Women's Royal Rumble. And Mick Foley fucking lives in New York, and I know he was invited to be there anyway, so I'm not going to include them on this list, because I figure they will be there. Bret Hart, I'm not so sure about. I know he was on WWE programming for Payback 2016 with Natalya, and managing her in her women's championship match against Charlotte with Ric Flair in her corner, a lot like TakeOver 2 years earlier from NXT. I do not think we've seen him on TV since, though. I mean, in what role would we see him anyway? I'm not really sure. You're not going to bring him back for no reason. That in and of itself was kind of pointless. I know he's always been very outspoken about the company and saying that it's shit, it's garbage, all this other stuff, the creative sucks, which he's not wrong about more often than not. But I will say, Bret Hart, again, another very big star in Raw's history. It is worth noting he was at the Raw 1000 show 5-6 years ago at this point for like a fucking ring announcer role. So I'm kind of skeptical that he's going to be there because, again, he's been in the advertising. But then again, will he come back for a split-second role? I think he did the ring announcing for like the Intercontinental Championship match on the Raw 1000 show between The Miz and Christian. And that was it. And he was kind of pissed about that, I think. Like, why would you bring me back, a star of my caliber? And it sounds kind of like very egotistical, but he's not wrong. It's like, it's Bret the fucking Hitman Hart. You're going to do more than having fucking ring announcers. He's not Mean Gene Okerlund. And I love Mean Gene Okerlund, but he's not fucking an interviewer. He's the best there was, the best there is, and the best there ever will be. So don't bring him in for a 2-second fucking ring announcing gig. Bring him in for a real role on the show. I don't know if he was on that. He might have been on like an old school Raw a couple years ago. Old school Raw, like in late 2016, I feel like. I want to say like he's interacted with Seth Rollins, but that's only been online when Seth said that, or Bret said that he hurts a lot of people. That actually hasn't happened on TV yet. That would be pretty funny, though, if we had a backstage interaction on the show between Bret Hart and Seth Rollins. But anyway, I hope Bret Hart's a part of the show. In what capacity, I have no idea. But it would be cool to get Raw. It would not be a Raw 25 show without Bret the Hitman Hart, one of the biggest stars in Raw's history. Coming up next, another star. I'm not sure if he will be part of the show. I read like today, as of Tuesday. Again, he might be announced by this point. He might have already said he won't be there. I'm not sure. But I did read that Edge, who I want at Raw 25, will not be there because he will be out of the country doing filming or something. I'm not exactly sure. I read today that Christian's going to be a part of the show. I don't know where that was made official or if it was just rumored. Christian I want to see on the show. So Christian I'm including in this. I think he's already going to be a part of it. So that's why I'm just saying Edge here. Because I'm not really sure. Again, Edge, a very big part of Raw's history. Obviously, he was with the company for what, like 15 years? And not only that, maybe a little less than that. But he was a big part of Raw in 04, 05, 06, right before he retired in 09, 2010, 2011. He was a big part of Raw. His farewell speech, the retirement speech, one of the most emotional moments in WWE Raw history. The Rated R era, he was the one who put the R in Raw to begin with for a very long time there in 2006. And that amazing feud with John Cena and so many others, a part of Rated R KO. I gotta see Edge at Raw 25. I would love to see Edge at Raw 25. I'm not sure if I've seen him in person before. I feel like I have in one of the first few shows that I went to. But then again, I feel like I don't think so. Because I think he was hurt the first SmackDown show that I went to. I went to a fan appreciation show in late 2010, which I don't think he was at, in Hartford, Connecticut. And that was about it, because I didn't go to many other shows besides those for WWE around that point before he retired. So, yeah, anyway, Edge would be a great addition to Raw 25. I think Christian will already be there, so again, I'm just saying Edge here. If he isn't out of the country, he would be a welcome guest on Raw's 25th anniversary show. And last but certainly not least, I don't know if it's the most unlikely. The most unlikely would be CM Punk. And I would put CM Punk on here, but I know there's no chance of that happening. There is a chance of this happening. No, I know he said he went on. I know that he went on Twitter and said, "Oh, I won't be there. I'll be watching from home." The guy lies all the time. And if he was going to be there, he wouldn't be like, "Oh yeah, I'll see you there." You know what I mean? So I guess we'll see. But I think I wanted to include him here on the list because I think there's a big enough chance that he will be a part of Raw 25. Hulk Hogan. Now, we have not seen Hulk Hogan in WWE since the whole controversy ensued about 3 years ago. And WWE has kept their distance ever since, and they didn't bring him up for a long time there. But they have started to incorporate him more and more and more in the last, I want to say year and a half. People thought he'd be back by WrestleMania 32. That was way too soon. I knew that wasn't going to happen. Then I figured, okay, maybe WrestleMania 33. They're in Orlando, right next to his new beach shop. He's from Florida. It makes perfect sense. Didn't happen. Bit disappointed by that, but it didn't happen. He still, again, wasn't the biggest star in Raw's history. He left in 93 when Raw first started. He's been on Raw before, obviously. But he's one of the biggest stars, if not the biggest star in WWE's history. I know he was not an integral part of Raw, but he did appear on Raw in the early days of the show. He was a part of Raw when he came back in 2002, in the many segments with The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin, and so many others. And then he would make many appearances on Raw in the years that followed. Now, he made, I think, his final appearance on WWE TV at the 15th anniversary show before he left for TNA about 2 years after that. And we have not seen him on TV, I don't think, since like the Tough Enough days in the summer of 2015. The last Raw appearance he made, I'm not sure. I know he was at WrestleMania 31. I don't know if he appeared on Raw after that, before he was booted from the company. But I think it'd be a great welcome change. I might have included Hulk Hogan returning in my things I want to see over WrestleMania 33 weekend about a year ago when I was there. I'm not sure. Obviously, like I said, didn't happen. But I think bringing him back for Raw 25 would be fitting, because he's not going to return in the Rumble. Obviously, the guy can barely walk. But seeing him return for Raw 25 would be a pretty sweet moment. Again, if only for a one-off. And also, too, what gets up my hopes is the fact that we're getting Scott Hall and Kevin Nash in the show. Little NWO reunion, a little too sweet. Could you imagine an interaction between Balor Club and the NWO? That would be too sweet. That would be fucking amazing. So, it's not going to happen, but it would be pretty incredible. So, I'm hoping for it. Probably won't happen. But again, the 5 stars I want to see on Raw 25, The Rock, Batista, Edge, Bret Hart, and of course, the one and only, the immortal, Hulk Hogan. So again, the people I left out, for obvious reasons, CM Punk, I know it's not going to happen, and I did not include Mick Foley, Trish Stratus, Lita, because I figure they're going to be there. These are the people that may or may not be there. There's a decent chance they won't be, which is why I made the list. Hulk Hogan. There was another name that just came to mind that I can't think of at the moment. I'm not sure if SmackDown stars will be a part of the show. I know Jinder, I think, is supposed to. I know he was advertised for it, which makes absolutely no sense. But we already have a lot of returns lined up. I'm a big return guy. You guys know that. Whether it's the women, the men, whatever, we're getting Kelly Kelly. We're getting fucking Ted DiBiase Sr. We're getting a lot of people for this show. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm really, really excited. My first Raw that I've been to, I was at a Raw house show about a month ago, but the first Raw episode of Raw that I've been to since 2016, the aforementioned week where I went to like 3 shows in 3 days. So I have not been to a Raw since then. I went to a SmackDown last year, which was a lot of fun. I've been to 5 Raws. This would be my 6th. I went to one in 2009 with John. I went to another one in 2013, the day after my birthday. 2014, which was an amazing show with my family. 2015, I went to with RJ in Boston, in 2016 in Brooklyn with John. So I'm looking forward to it. Again, should be a stacked show with a lot of returns. I'm hoping the following of the aforementioned 5 names show up. If they don't, oh well. But we already have a lot of star power on that show to be satisfied with. So who do you guys want to see return at Raw 25 this coming Monday at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn? Let me know in the comment section down below. Find me on Twitter. Tweet me over there at WrestleRant on Facebook as well, at facebook.com/gram.gsm.matthews. And of course, be sure to like the video, drop a comment, and like I said, subscribe and share the video. All that stuff is amazingly appreciated. So next week, right here on the Random Video Blog, I will be going down 5 people I want to see return in the Royal Rumble match. So more return predictions for the Royal Rumble match. We got 5 returns on Raw 25 and 5 returns I want to see in the Royal Rumble match, both of which I will be in attendance for, again, which is why I'm doing these videos. So either that or 5 things I want to see happen over Royal Rumble weekend, because I'll be at TakeOver too. So again, it's going to be just an unbelievable weekend. Raw 25 will also be great. I'll be talking more about that next week right here on the Random Video Blog. Until next time, guys, I'm Graham G.S. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road to the Royal Rumble and Raw 25.